Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today about my passion, which is design, branding, and food packaging. I was born underneath the Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania in East Africa, from Italian parents. When I was a child, I used to play for hours with a miniature packaging set, which was in fact playing at being a shopkeeper. And my mother used to say, "When you grow up, do you want to be a shopkeeper?" And I said, "No, I want to be an air hostess because I want to travel the world." I've been very, very lucky because in fact, today I travel the world and I design packaging to fit and try to answer to the needs of consumers, no matter where they are in the world. The journey started in London. I was a student, an art student, in the 70s, so I was a hippie, but I didn't drug myself. However, what I did do was I swang with the Beatles, with the Rolling Stones, and to the horror of my Italian father, I had a mini skirt up to here. So what is packaging today? In fact, the beginning started with conservation and mobility, because packaging was the first item that in fact permitted civilizations to travel. Because 20,000 years ago, old pottery, old jars, old pots were in fact the first form of packaging. Luckily for those times, there was no brands. But even in Roman times, we find all these items that permitted people to travel and take food with them, and therefore they managed to discover new lands. So what is it today? In fact, today we live in very developed countries. We're extremely happy people. We have more than what we need. We just have so much of everything that today we don't just buy one pack. We often buy multi-packs. Multi-packs can be 8, 4, 12, and even 48 items of the same product, whether it's chocolate or biscuits or water or milk. You all go and shop for these multi-packs. They're easy to carry home. However, when we brand these products, we put a beautiful brand. They often have an icon, a symbol, a picto that makes you recognize them, as well as a color. That has to also work for the same brands on the same products in countries where people can only buy one yogurt pot at a time. One Danone yogurt pot sometimes is all somebody can buy a whole week to make him have big pleasure and some sort of a status symbol. Sometimes they will buy a tiny pouch of Heinz tomato ketchup, and that is divided by the whole family because that's all they can afford. Countries like Asia, of course, but also in South America, where people can't afford to buy big packs, let alone multi-packs. So the branding and the photography, the food look and feel has to be able to work on a big pack and also on tiny packs. And this is obviously a big designer's work. Packaging is also very important because it is economical venture. It makes people work in millions of factories all over the world. In fact, the more beautiful a packaging is, the more beautiful the photography and the branding and the brand is on the packaging, the more you sell the product, and therefore the more the factories produce. And when factories produce, well, people work in there. And because they work, they get paid, and of course they can then feed their family. Packaging is not only that, it's also made to protect the product. Because in fact, what happens is a product needs to be able to be protected as soon as it leaves the factory, so that when it arrives to your fridge or to your table, it has traveled, and it has also been in hygienic conditions. It also has to survive some very challenging transport issues. In some countries, products have to travel a long time just to get to where they need to be. They also need to be visible on the shelf so that when you buy a product, you actually know what it is you're buying, how much, what the variety is, and what the brand is. And of course, last but not least, the product needs to get to your home, and you must be able to put it in the fridge without it falling over, without spilling, without wasting it, and of course, being able to use it until it finds its way into the trash can. And when it finds its way into the trash can, we all know that the more ecological and the more recyclable the packaging is, the better it will be. As you all know, packaging also plays a very important role in avoiding food wastage. Today, 30% of cereals in the world is lost. A lot of it, unfortunately, is lost because the bag or the sack or the box in which it is transported in is broken or has a defect, which then means that the product is wasted. The same, obviously, for fruit and vegetables. A lot of our fruit and vegetable is wasted because it's ruined by the time it gets to wherever it is, even if it's shorter than 200 kilometers. So it's very important to know what the use of packaging is. Another issue is today in France, we actually throw away 26 kilos of food per person per year. A lot of that is due to the fact that we have an issue with the date before use, the date limit of when you can use it, either because it's not clear enough, or because you forget it in your fridge, or because when you do decide to use it, you have a doubt about it. So this is very important because all that depends on the hygiene and the conservation of the food inside. In some countries, the food has a challenging life because of the humidity. And if the packaging is not some sort of aluminium, the product inside is ruined within a few days. And even worse, we also have mice that are very greedy and love to eat into flour packs and products, or even insects, especially where it concerns baby food and baby powder milk. So you can imagine that without packaging, this gentleman on his motorbike in a market in Jakarta, in Indonesia, those chickens would not get to the consumer in a very good state if they were all transported in the back of his motorbike. And the gentleman next door, he is in fact a street vendor in Mumbai, in India. And again, half of the products on his cart will probably be wasted because by the time he gets to his little shop and puts the products in the shop, well, because of inadequate packaging, it will also be wasted. With any luck, in a few years, we have developed a stamp that will be put on all packaging. And the stamp will be green when the product has a long life date. In other words, he's still very new product and he's still got many days to go before he is out of date. As the out of date goes past, it will become orange and then it will become red. This means that shopkeepers will be able to lower the price as they see the little stamp on the packaging go from green to orange to red, which means that instead of throwing thousands of kilos of food away, people will be able to buy older products, but not yet out of date, depending on the color of the stamp, whether it's green or orange or red. So at a lower price, of course, because as the stamp goes towards orange and red, the price will be lowered. Packaging is also there to make a consumer's life easier. For example, these bottles that we designed for Volvic. As you can all know, they are water from a volcano. Before, the bottles existed in 1.5 liters, much too heavy for some senior people to pour or to be easy to pour. The fact of making a ridged edge on the bottle permitted the person to use it, to pour it easier. And of course, it went down to 1 liter. Therefore, less water is wasted, because often people throw away a bottle because water has stayed in there for a couple of days, that much, and it gets thrown away. The fact of being only 1 liter makes it that people will use it quickly and not throw it away, not waste it. Another thing is a yogurt pot. Who has not battled to try and get yogurt out of a pot? This is a spoonable pot. It's got a rounded edge. And because it's rounded, it actually means that you can get the very last drop of yogurt out of your pot. Again, that is design. Another very important factor is that technology now permits us to get coconut water out of the natural packaging, which is the coconut itself, straight out of the coconut into a carton, aluminized carton, which means that the product never sees the light, never loses its vitamins, and is never touched by human hands. So again, the technology of packaging has permitted to fill that little carton so that you can put a straw and drink it, and it's almost as if that coconut water had come from the coconut itself. So, before I say thank you, we all know that packaging also creates pollution. However, every day, designers all over the world work to try and bridge the gap between big industrial companies that make food and the role that packaging actually serves for the people who will be using and eating and transporting that food. So if there is any creative minds, innovative minds, you may want to join the movement, which is, of course, to say that we can all be very responsible, aware, design community. Like I hope my daughter will become, who is in the audience, and who one day will be a designer. So that we all need your help, because we need to make an even better world. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and thank you for your precious time.